Hello everyone, welcome back to Dark Night Tales. Before we dive in, please show your support, give this video a like and be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss future videos. So let's get started. The first story. I volunteered after Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans and there was something there that still scares me to this day. Okay, here it goes. I have a medical background and a certification I rarely use, though I keep going back and paying to renew it. Anyhow, I volunteered almost immediately thinking I would help those who have lived through Katrina. That was not the case. There were a few of us who were assigned once the water started to recede, to find houses that had dead bodies in them. If you've ever had to do a body recovery when it has been lying around in the heat and the water for days, sometimes weeks at a time, you know how it smells. It does sort of smell like any other dead carcass but worse. I can't explain it, maybe somehow, sweeter smelling. Anyway, the key to not vomiting when you smell them is fixing under and around the bottom of your nose. It doesn't keep all the smell out but enough until you can at least tolerate the smell without vomiting. We had to go to each house and go inside in wading boots and look for bodies. Many of them washed out to sea but some were still in the houses they had lived in prior to the hurricane. If we found a body, we spray painted a big X on the outside of the house. This other guy and I had been doing it for a while and we got assigned each other almost every day. We got along okay and he didn't vomit at the ones that had been gotten to. We came up to this one old shack. I say shack because it was pretty run down and in what had been a very bad neighborhood. Right away, I got chills down my spine. I knew there was something really wrong. Not like find a body kind of wrong, but chilling kind of wrong. New Orleans has certain areas that just give off these vibes and my understanding is there is a lot of voodoo practiced in certain areas. Anyway, against everything my body was screaming at me, we went in the house. The first thing I could smell was a body, the second was something almost earthy and mold. I looked at my partner, I will call him Jay. He was white as a sheet. I could tell he was getting that same feeling I had been getting. It was obvious from the weird bones hanging from the ceiling. I would bet money they were cats. Something odd had been going down in the house as well as strange beads and carvings in the bare wood in the walls. We went into what was a kitchen and there chained to a beam was an old lady or what was left of her. She had chained herself by her wrists to the beam, her guts were falling out on the floor. The creepiest thing was her face still looked as though she were alive and staring at us with a wicked smile showing only partial teeth. They were nubs. My skin started crawling as the goosebumps spread over my body and my neck hair stood up. Suddenly, I heard the most unearthly cackling noise I have ever heard in my life and my flight or fight kicked in. Jay and I noped out of there. We quickly painted the X and literally ran to the next house. Now I don't know if that old lady had practiced voodoo or whatever, but that scared the ever-living SHD out of me. It still gives me nightmares. The people I feel sorry for are the ones who had to take that crazy lady out of there. Jay and I discussed it that night after we went back to the hotels north of there. He had heard the cackling too but we both said it had to be the wind or something. The second story. Something's living in our family home. A little background, this house was built in 1995 by my dad and mom. It's a big house with 2 floors and a basement. We are the only family that has ever lived there. My grandmother died in the bathroom upstairs in 2010. No one else has died in that house besides her. My sister and brother who I am going to be mentioning in this story had moved out of the house before things ever started happening. I moved out about a year ago. Sorry for the grammar, English is not my mother tongue. It started a few years after Granny had died. We started hearing steps going up and down the stairs at night. We were spooked a little but forgot about it soon because we just thought that it was Granny's ghost since she's the only one who has died there and we heard those steps very rarely. Maybe a year passes and I am looking through pictures my relative and me have sent to each other on Messenger. I found a screenshot that she had taken when we were on a video call at night and I saw some weird gray mass behind me. I zoomed in and was completely taken aback. There was a gray torso and face behind me in the darkness. I put some filters on it so I could see it better, cropped it because I had an ugly face on the picture and showed it to my family and friends ASAP. Everyone except my dad was completely shocked. My dad didn't believe in paranormal at that time and kept denying when stuff happened. My sister said that the gray apparition looks like Granny and I agreed. I think I may make a separate post for that picture and put a link here too. Not sure yet. Anyway, a few years forward. My mom and dad are downstairs cooking something in the kitchen and I'm on the second floor in my bedroom sitting on my bed. I hear exactly 3 knocks on my door. It's normal that people knock on my door first before entering, but this time no one opens the door to enter. I just stare at the door for a while and eventually ask, "Who's there?" I get no answer. I call mom on the phone because I'm spooked. She said that nobody had gone upstairs. I went on to Google about 3 knocks on the door and I did not like the answers I found. I panicked a bit and just waited until I felt like enough time had passed that it was safe enough to open the door. I went downstairs and told my mom and dad what had happened. Dad didn't believe me like usual, but mom was a bit spooked. By now I have also seen shadows walk past my bedroom door. Creepy but nothing special emo. Again, a few years have passed and I and my mom have moved out. It's a long story what happened and why we moved, but in short, domestic violence. Only my father lives in that house now. The house is empty and freezing most of the time because we live in Europe and father travels a lot due to work. It's been also put on sale. Since I moved out, the activity in the house has increased. My father has told my sister that he's been hearing someone walking around, faucets turning on and off, doors opening, etc. He didn't believe in paranormal before, but now he has experienced the spookiest of it himself. Yesterday my sister, mom and me had met up at the house while father was at work to just catch up. At one point my sister informed me her and mom were planning on staying the night there and asked me if I was staying too. I declined because I hate that house and it makes me have panic attacks. Well, fast forward to today. Sister called me and told me that she was absolutely never going to stay in that house again because of what happened that night, and I was lucky for choosing to go back home. Apparently she had stayed up a bit late and at one point she heard someone walking downstairs fast and going into the garage. She thought it was mom up late, so she wanted to go check what she was doing. To get downstairs she had to go past mom's room, and when she did that, she saw that mom was sleeping. She was spooked. The steps were fast, so how can it be Granny? She went back to her bed and couldn't sleep anymore, so she stayed up. After a while she heard steps again, but this time in the room next to her. It may not seem scary to you because it's just some steps, but after years of thinking that it was our Granny and then hearing steps that fast, I would have absolutely obliterated my pants and woken up mom to invisible sword fight the ghost away. The third story. I came face to face with a mythical demon. I had an experience that I cannot explain in any way. This happened when I was maybe 13 or 14. I want to believe this was a dream, but I know it happened. I'm from eastern Slovakia, in a city that isn't necessarily religious, but has a lot of stories about demons and unholy things. We have one specific legend about what we call a Ziraka Adlock, a demon that mirrors whoever is looking at it. But I never really believed in that stuff. We lived in a small Slavic house, and I shared a room with my brother and 2 sisters. One night I was in bed and having trouble sleeping, just lying there wide awake. After what seemed like a couple hours, I decided to go to the bathroom. We didn't have a bathroom inside, so you had to go out the front door and around the house to go to the outhouse. I get up and step over my brother to leave the room and go out the front door. I grab my glasses on the way out so I can see clearly outside, so I know I wasn't just mistaking things for my bad vision. As soon as I step outside, I turn to the left to go around the house, and I am face to face with myself, maybe 2 meters in front of me. It is clearly me, same face, same age, same glasses, wearing different clothes than I was wearing, but still clothes that I owned. We stared at each other, both wide-eyed in shock, neither of us moving. After maybe 5 full seconds, he just turned around and casually walks around the corner of the house. I am frozen in place in shock. I know I am not dreaming. After a minute or 2 I slowly walk around the corner and there is no one there, just the outhouse maybe 50 meters. I go to it, pee real fast, and go back inside and get in bed. I lay awake confused and rethinking what just happened, but eventually I fall asleep. I don't know how long it was, but I wake up at some point to someone yelling. I sit up very startled, and my brother, 8 or 9 years old at the time, comes running back into the room yelling all types of curves and pediclos. He's freaking out, pacing back and forth in our room. Me and my now awake sisters try to calm him down and ask what happened, but he looks like he's having a psychotic breakdown. After a few minutes we get him to calm down and talk to us about what happened. He says he went outside to use the bathroom, and as soon as he got out the door he came face to face with himself. He told the exact same story as I did. My sisters tell him he's just tired and seeing things. It was just a bad dream. I never said anything to him. He said he didn't want to go pee anymore and he got into bed. We all went back to sleep and I never told him about my experience ever. I hadn't thought about this until today. It's been over a decade. I'm living in Salt Lake City. I woke up this morning next to my girlfriend who's still asleep. I go about my morning, get up and put in my contacts, brush my teeth, do normal things. I decide to go to the gym before my girlfriend wakes up, so I get ready and leave my house. I go down the stairs and out to the parking lot. But as soon as I turn to the left to go towards my car, there I am again. But this time I'm not face to face, the other me is standing maybe 100 meters away behind my car. I start walking towards him, never taking my eyes off him. We are staring at each other again. I get to 40 meters away, and I can clearly tell it's myself. What makes me more certain is he is wearing a green jacket that I had in the passenger seat of my car. It is not easy to mistake. At about 20 meters away, he turns and walks behind the cars and I lose sight of him. I get to my car and look in the window, and my jacket is no longer on my seat. I am so freaked out by this point I just go back to my apartment and get back in bed. I'm lying here typing this now and I am in shock. I know I'm not dreaming, because I am clearly wide awake. I don't know if this is the real Adlock or if this is just some sick hallucinations. The fourth story. A phone call with Sandy. First of all, I don't think I have shared this story here before, but it's possible. I had a Reddit account years ago and forgot the info and made a new one. If you have read it before, I apologize in advance. Also, this is a pretty long story. So, to set the scene, I was about 7 years old when this happened, but I remember parts of it like it was yesterday. Also, it's a story that is told often in my family, so I can confidently tell it from all paths. My parents both worked at this time. My dad was a firefighter and has 24 to 48 hours shifts, and so my eldest sister, 14 at the time, was often left to babysit. There were 7 of us, including the eldest, ranging in age from 14 to 6. Also, our grandmother lived just across the parking lot from us. My sisters were calling the request line to request songs to be played on the radio. Yes, I'm aging myself here, and my sister, brother, and I were jumping on mom and dad's bed just down the hall from the living room. Now, we had an extension phone upstairs and we smaller ones were known to listen in on phone conversations, so when someone picked up the extension phone while my sister was on the phone in the living room, she assumed it was us. It happened several times but it would hang up when B, eldest sister, yelled hang it up. Finally, she got irate and called us out by name. When she called our names, we came out of our parents' room down the hall, where there was no extension. Obviously, this struck B as weird, but she just figured she either imagined the sound of the phone picking up, or it was a glitch. Once she had all of us sitting in the floor in front of her watching a movie on TV, she started to call again. This time, when the upstairs phone was picked up, she ignored it. But then, she heard breathing sounds over the line. She said hello? A couple times, then she hung up the phone. A little freaked out, she called her aunt, H, to see if she could explain it. On the phone with H, it happened again, but just sounded like an open line. H said it was probably just a glitch, but to call back if it kept happening. Well, it did, so, B called H again, and the line was picked up. H said who is this? And a voice said this is Sandy. H asked where are you Sandy? And the voice said well, I'm just right here. H thought it was one of us, and said so. B said it couldn't be us, because we're all right here. Then, the voice on the line giggled and said I'm still here. H told B to gather us all and go to Granny's house now. I remember running to Granny's place in the middle of the night, barefooted. H told her mom, our other G, Ma, that someone was in our apartment and to call the police and tell them to meet H there. The police and H, and Mom and Dad, by now, went in and searched our apartment top to bottom. No one was found, but the upstairs phone was off the hook. The police figured that, either we played a joke, or if someone had been in the apartment with us, they left. So, after making sure the windows and doors were locked up, they all met outside in front of the apartment to talk, and one policeman looked up at the window facing the parking area, the bedroom I shared with one of my sisters, incidentally, and saw a man standing in the window, watching them. When the policeman pointed him out to all the others, the man just waved and turned away out of sight. They all ran back in to do another search, keeping someone at all exit points to catch anyone running out. No one was found. The fifth story followed me home from work. It's circa 2018, and I am the front office supervisor at a 99-room hotel near the mountains in Colorado, just on the southern basin of the foothills, in Littleton. The property had been there for over 60 years, and have been through a few renovations to keep up to the suburbia that sprouted up around it. I had been there for a few weeks, and nothing seemed amiss. Just new job jitters. As time goes on, I started working shifts alone. No worries, that was my job. I am not one to get unsettled easily, so I wasn't perturbed by the idea of being alone. The night ticks on as normal, a few check-ins, and me enjoying a podcast or two in between guest interactions. To lay out the lobby, on the west side of the room, it had the desk. I was standing at the computer that gave me the most central view of the lobby entrance, as well as being clearly located in the room. On the east side, there was a wall that jutted out, that turned the lobby into a big L shape, from the hallway that led to the breakfast area. There were computers, and pamphlets on this wall. During my shift, randomly, I would see a light shadow move across the wall, but not cast by anything. It would catch my eye every time, but it wasn't concerning enough for me to investigate. I knew there were no lights set in the hallway, and the breakfast room was completely dark. I have no idea what it was. It started to raise the hairs on the back of my neck. My shift passes slowly, and this shadow keeps popping up at random intervals. I shrug it off as I am relieved, and get into my car to head home. As I am driving home, I just kept looking into my rearview mirror. I was looking into my back seat, and getting more and more anxious. I felt like I was psyching myself out for no reason. Finally I get home, put my stuff down, and tell my husband about how weird I was feeling, and this shadow. All of a sudden, we hear violent, loud scratching on our front door. We both freeze, and stare at our door. The scratching lasts for a couple minutes, and stops as my husband goes to open the door. Our cat has raised hair on his back, and a fluffy tail staring at the door. I yell out, "Don't you open that door!" My husband doesn't listen, and flings it open. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. No sign of a dog running by, no people walking around, absolutely nothing. No person or animal could have run, and hidden in the time my husband got up to open the door. We were stunned. When I went back to work the next day, I saw the shadows again. Building up my remaining nerves, I walked into the hallway, stared into the darkness of the breakfast area, and said, "I get this is your hotel. And that's fine. We can be here together. But don't ever follow me home again." Small activity continued through my employment, but nothing followed me home again. Thank God. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.